Last time on The Empire's Edge. I'm feeling pretty confident in a post-Whitney Pratt universe.
So may he rest in pieces.
We figured you just died out there somewhere in the Brimroar.
Yeah, it was a one interesting trip.
The Baron has ordered us to rebuild our dock facilities. Declare yourself.
I'm Boris Kirsonov and companions.
Boris Kirsonov. I'll escort you.
Have food and drink brought to the Baron's meeting room. We'll be there for a while. The seat of House Sikorsky has been sacked.
Their goal is to reestablish an ancient evil.
I declare at this moment a triumph. Not only this triumph, I declare that a week hence from this day, Boris Kirsonov, you will be knighted as a Knight of the Key. You glean what looks like a metal cloud. Friend, you look as though you need a greater purpose in your life. Have you thought about joining the Zrex? And notable people have been coming up from Arkland. Nobody's been coming south because as word's gone out that a knighting ceremony is about to happen, that they're gearing up toward that, and that tomorrow is going to be the actual knighting of Boris Kirsonov. The knighting ceremony, Boris, is tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, so I think what makes sense for me to be doing right now is I'd seclude myself in the chapel and take a day of like prayer and fasting to get ready for this. Even if it's like mostly a political ceremony, I'd still want to kind of be recognizing the religious aspects of it.
Okay, yeah, so if you recall, the Worland itself doesn't have a lot of room for religion. They seem to be, they kind of tout the fact that they don't have a lot of churches or temples.
Yeah, I can smite them heretics later. First, I need the political authority to do so.
However, that when you get to the chapel, to Uko that's in his own castle, as you arrive in the chapel, you can see that it has been cleaned. Like someone went inside out, top to bottom, and were ordered to scrub the whole place down. So
either I left it unlocked or there's multiple keys.
I completely forgot that point. So somebody at some point came to you for the key so they could go in there and clean it.
I believe it.
In this week, in preparation.
Yeah, assuming I didn't just instigate it myself.
It is the only key. We'll just keep that way.
Okay, yeah.
And then, so your preparations go through the night, very knightly, very paladin-like of you. That the next morning, as preparations are made and you're really just swept up into what seems to be normal for a knight to be knighted, no one said stand here or go to that room or walk in this place. But this procession where you're ready to go to the main gallery hall, the Baron's receiving hall, it doesn't. It goes right out the doors and everybody's heading outside.
So I'm more in kind of a tide of staff and servants being washed out of town than I am in a procession.
You are behind the Baron and the Baroness. And then Jakob, Zelen, you're walking just behind Boris and all of this. And as you're proceeding this direction, you're heading right down to the river, which again seems a little more unusual. And then as you get to the river itself, the Baron, without missing a beat, steps right into the water, and he's now wading across 2 stones.
Something sounds familiar to what we just saw.
That big barn-sized rock that the tower thought was Worland.
The footprint the size of a house. That's right. So, and more of a modern house, and not a little hut a peasant would live in. That he does cross. So he's wet up to his shins, maybe his ankles, and his lady's right there too, and no one seems bothered by it. They just got their clothes all wet going across. Now, as people
I'm rich, allegedly.
I rented this suit.
That's right. You're all wearing your regular clothes you've always worn. You don't have another outfit, right? So
not in this castle anyway.
Yeah.
As you're seeing all the people that are around here, both banks, and there's a stream that flows into the Talfava just opposite where you guys have walked in. So people are on all of the banks all around here. And it does seem to be quite the thing of a celebration that you could imagine people close to the river.
Sparky's in his boat.
Oh, gosh.
But they probably staked out a place since yesterday just to be close to this. That it's pretty rare that a knight is knighted, but it seems that everyone knows it happens out here. And so then as the procession moves out, it's only the higher ups that come out to it. But
I'm not going to be a weirdo. I'll just walk across.
You get all wet. It's like, ooh, this is gold. But then nobility that were within a week's distance away, for the most part, they came up from Carn Keldley. And then maybe a couple of people that came down from Bolingard, which is just adjacent to the Confederation of Duchies.
Yeah, it's another barony, right?
Another one of the free baronies. That there's a lot of people here that they seem to be here less for your knighting, but that it's a celebration day. And maybe they're looking for something, I don't know, to do.
They know there's a feast.
Yeah, one, keeps them busy. Two, they don't pay for dinner tonight.
Now, I do have a question. You said that the water's really cold. I'm wondering, because when we first started, it was like a cool autumn breeze, and a number of months go by. Are we in the middle of winter now?
Probably.
You are, but it's also a very, very southern region.
Okay.
That it would be a little bit like...
It's a Georgia
It's a Georgia
winter
thing, yeah. So.
It could snow tomorrow. You might need flip-flops.
No, one or the other.
So as we hear the people in the crowd, are they commenting on how many people are here, on, what a great turnout this is? Or can we get an idea if this is a...
Yeah, without even a perception of some sort, there's a lot of murmur, a lot of talk, and it is just like that.
Okay.
That people are amazed. Well, one, Worland has grown so much just in the past few months that there's a lot of people here, and that a lot of people turned out for this particular celebration, this event. So it is probably more people that have been in Worland than in recent history.
Well, the merchants will appreciate
It
us.
it is quite packed. And you guys are right. As you are crossing to it, you do realize it's from the opposite direction from where you zoomed in from Azongo's tower, that this is that rock. That when you said... let's take a look at Worland, and you concentrated, you zoomed in on this rock.
We nailed our in real life perception or intelligence check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you are on that place, and you stand there, and then as everyone arranges himself, and the Baron simply gestures to you, Boris, that you know where to stand by his gesture, and then he puts his hand up for everyone to get quiet, and it takes a moment, and then a hush falls on everything. And of all things, it looks so commonplace. He holds over his head a fairly large wooden bowl, and he says, "It is said that this simple bowl is made from the root burl of an adlay tree that stood upon this spot 5,000 years ago. An adlay so mighty that its toppling formed the Brimroar, and where its great branches struck the earth, they marked the place of the Visitation and Arngol College." And that would be so far away. That's just like hundreds of miles away. That'd be one big damn tree.
Yeah, right.
If that myth,
a planetary tree.
Yeah, if that myth were actually something correct. And thus, he says, as he actually dips the water, he dips the bowl into the water, and he raises it above Boris and begins pouring the water out like it's some kind of a baptism or ritual bathing.
As long as I'm not getting dunked, I'm okay.
And in that moment, when he starts to pour that, everyone go ahead and make a perception roll.
Okay.
14.
26.
You
19.
all hear or feel a thing. Actually, even though you made a great roll, Boris, you don't. You just feel cold water. And it's now like down your back, down your front. It's coming down. It's like, oh, this is a little bit unpleasant. It'll definitely wake you up in the morning.
Yeah, right.
It's not what you thought would happen. But Zelen, even if you'd rolled like a perception 1, you would have still felt this or heard this. And you're not sure which one it is. It's both, maybe at the same time. But Zelen, very clearly, Jakob, still most definitely. And it sounds as though by the murmur just after it, everyone, the hundreds, actually the thousands of people that are circled right here, that you felt or heard like a blast of music. Like it was just a moment, like an orchestra just like struck a chord and then stopped.
Like in time as the water hit Boris kind of a thing?
Yeah, as the water's pouring down Boris. Actually, with that, Jakob, you said you rolled a 14?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's plenty high enough that you realized that it was the moment the water was still pouring out of the bowl, but it also touched the stone at his feet.
I'm wondering...
So...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I want to take a moment right after that and just hear, is there an echo? I feel like it's that, or did it feel like it actually existed in the world, or like it hit
That's
our
great.
brains?
Yeah, go ahead and use that as perception.
15.
There's no echo.
Oh.
Can I?
It existed, and then it just wasn't.
Can I?
So wait a
Zelen
minute.
had a thing next.
So when you say it's a blast of music, is it a blast like it would be discordant, or is it like you'd be lifted with a gasp of beautiful sound?
Yeah, resonance or dissonance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like resonance. That
Okay.
it feels as though it came from within.
Okay.
That maybe it came from all around you, but it was not a force that made you go, wow, I'm so close to the amplifier, where I am in a bar, my right ear. But it was just, there was this music, this moment of music all around you. And as you're perceiving that, you can see that and Boris, you would notice this, that as the Baron's doing this, the Baron of Worland, his eyes go wide for a second as he's pouring it on your head.
Yeah, I was about to ask, can I make an insight check either on the Baron or the crowd? Because there was a pause there, and given how he said thus, pause.
Go ahead, make your insight check.
Can I
9.
Yeah, you're not sure what it was, but you feel like for a moment
Shenanigans
you did something.
ensued.
You did something wrong. I've never been knighted before. But did I
Is
do
this
the
a
right
nightmare? Am I wearing pants?
Can I? Does my ring feel any different? I wear that ring. I wear that ancient.
How's my
pendant,
pacemaker?
That ancient pendant. Well, I don't know. Do I feel anything in them? Do they light up, glow? I don't know.
You're covered in stones.
I'm covered in stones and magic jewelry.
Bits and bobs.
If there was any piece of an Adlai tree on you, I would say you'd feel something. But you're not.
Does an Argolian sword qualify?
That's interesting.
No.
Is your butterfly have any Adlai in it, or does my fox have any Adlai in it?
That'd be like
the tree is wood. I mean, it would be something wooden.
So there is this moment of hesitation, this moment's pause, but then he continues with the ceremony and empties that bowl that's poured down on you. And he says, he began with thus, and there was this awkward pause. As the river flows clean to the sea, so are you, Boris Kirsanov, washed of your old self and now born anew upon the face of the earth. And then as he's done pouring it, he hands the bowl aside to the Baroness, and he says, Boris Kirsanov, unbuckle and hand me your sword and belt.
And I do.
And then as he continues to talk, he removes your belt and just simply drops it to the stone and takes a belt from, again, that his wife was holding, that the Baroness was holding. And you can see, even from where you're standing, that it has the rampant lion, the black rampant lion symbol of his house and of Worland, and a particular device of a key, which is also part of his crest. And he threads that back through the loops in the hilt of the scabbard of your sword. And then he steps forward to buckle it on you. Mm-hmm. And he says, I entrust you, as I do all knights of the key, with the duty of maintaining the well-being of the barony of Worland. And he finishes buckling the sword on you. And as he steps back, he draws his own sword.
And I kneel, knowing
and he
that.
said, yeah, and if you weren't, he would have said, kneel. This is the time. He taps you on your left shoulder and then turns the blade counterclockwise and taps you on the right shoulder and then says, arise, Sir Boris Kirsanov, Knight of the Key. And then as you arise, there's just a cheer that goes up from everywhere around here. That was the party time. Yeah. So the whole place goes crazy for
Let's
a while.
Get drunk.
Huzzah!
And
no, it's still a religious ceremony. For
they
me.
all, the Baron and the Baroness are used to it. They have their hands up as a waving to them, not actually a wave, but just a hand up. And every time they do that, the cheer goes up, greater and more and longer. And then he gives a nod to you, Boris.
The same.
And it's just a roar of people that they were here when a knight was knighted. And you are truly one of their own now, even though you're not from there. They just forget about that because you've brought what's
I've
probably...
been born anew upon the face of the earth.
You have been. And you probably brought tremendous wealth. That is the three of you, but tremendous wealth to this region.
What can I say? I'm a knight of the church and the banks.
And then the procession wades back across the water, and everyone goes in, and you can already see the different areas. There are pavilions that have been set up where knots of people all over the place are doing their own, tantamount to tailgating. We've invented a new thing again.
Yeah, it's a Renaissance fair in the Renaissance era.
they're
so a fair.
They're at a fair. It's a pretty fair fair. That there's
hurts my brain.
Food cooking all over the place. There's camps all over the place. And then as you walk back through the actual town of Worland, it's called a small city now, but a big town. Walking through it, there's people everywhere. And as you're coming back into the castle, the place is absolutely stuffed. And it goes through the main hallways and into the actual main receiving chamber.
I would very much like to talk to my associates and my boss about whatever shenanigans occurred.
Yeah,
So as you're walking
When-
in,
Yeah, we're probably telling him all about that. Like, what you guys hear? It's like, did you hear that?
When the water formed a column between the bowl and the rock, there was this sudden blast of the most beautiful music you could imagine. It lasted, I don't know, what, 3 seconds, 5 seconds,
One
do you
bowl
think?
pour.
less.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe
it
even
was,
less
it
than a
was
second.
so
It was just-
quick, but it was so beautiful. But I could not, even right now, I couldn't tell you if I heard it outside of myself or inside of myself.
And that's what I was listening for. Is I believe it happened inside because there was no like echo. There was nothing from that blast. As loud as it would have been, you would have heard something.
And to put a reminder on that too, that you felt it like right through your feet,
Yeah.
as well as
Right.
in your ears. Like it was a vibration that went through all of you,
Yeah.
except you, Boris.
I don't. Yeah. Right.
Like the single greatest experience of my life. Don't you remember?
No. Yeah. I don't know what that is. Religion check to see if I've heard of anything like that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is God pulling a prank on me?
Ashton
You can hear
Kutcher
us
comes
now,
down.
right?
Yeah. Right. 21.
It actually sparks a memory from all the reading you've done from Timothy's journal.
I
So
know I did that for a reason.
that there was that you of course don't have the journal on you right now,
Right, it'd
But
be a-
you do recall something because you imagine it happening to you someday at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That for me to go back to the journal, it read, I conclude, this was Timothy talking, the abbot Timothy.
Right.
I conclude that rare annunciation ceremonies, ordinations, or knightings on the Worland stone produce an effect that is similar to those performed in an Adlai tree nave, which is,
Huh.
it must be so guarded a secret what happens in
Right.
an Adlai tree nave that you didn't even know it was a secret.
Yeah. I knew that's part of like the knighting ceremonies and
Yeah,
whatnot.
you've seen them process
I
into the
hadn't
things
been
and back out.
invited.
Right.
Now a nave. Remind me.
That is the chamber, the open chamber that's inside an Adlai tree. That would be like the holiest of holies.
Okay. Interesting.
So they're making.
So, and the Worland stone.
I don't know plant stuff, but did it look like a stump made of rock or?
I don't know.
Just look like a rock made of rock.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're walking back, so I guess we can't really look at it right
Yeah,
now.
we
But
can't.
kind of like
Thing to be
backwards,
aware
like
of.
going back, kind of roll.
Go ahead and roll a nature check with disadvantage.
Disadvantage. Okay.
And if you wanted to as well, Zelen, you certainly may.
Okay. The lower number is a 14.
You roll it twice? is
Yeah,
that-
Yes,
take
and
the
you
lower
take
the
number.
lower number.
The lower.
Kicks the crap out of
She
me.
rolled a natural 16, then a 17. It's like even at disadvantage, Natalie
Plus 3,
Zelen is in
so
no.
it's 19.
Yeah, right.
Dang.
As Zelen turns back to all of you, says, well, in a weird way, it does look, if you were the size of like an ant on a tree, you could say that rock looks kind of like the bark of an immense tree if you were ant-sized, but that'd be one big tree.
Adlays are big trees.
But,
Well, yeah, you
but
said it
that's
could
just
hit
that's just looking at it, kind of like
Argyle.
imagining it. I mean, some other rock formation could look that way too, but your perception tells you that could be a thing.
It's
Yeah.
it's so massive. It's hard to
Huh.
like even try and comprehend. Like
How
it's-
big that would
Right,
actually be.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because you've never seen one of these.
Yeah, but we have heard of them. I mean, we know that Adlai trees exist
Yes, and-
in the world.
And Boris has seen them.
Yeah, I lived in
and
Quint
people
Duchy.
and
yeah.
people live in them. I mean, they're whole
They're castles, yeah.
villagers. Yeah, I
unto
mean, they're
themselves.
they're huge.
Around 4,000 feet tall is an Adlai tree.
right.
And
So-
you thought skyscrapers were impressive.
Yeah, that so
Yeah.
they are mighty, mighty impressive things.
That's
Huh.
like
Bizarrely magical,
Um,
impressive.
it's like 4 cruise ships lengthwise.
If we're at a point where I can talk to the Baron, I'm not sure where we are in the procession.
Yeah,
back
let's just say
and how-
walking in, it's
Yeah.
less of a procession, more of a jumble
Yeah.
as it goes back in, as everything's happening. But you could certainly take a position
Yeah.
alongside the
And
Baron of Worland.
I like share with him the stuff we were thinking about, and is any of this familiar to you, my lord?
It is not. I've never heard of anything being like this. I've knighted. I could not tell you how many people right here, and I've never heard that experience that I felt. I'm not sure. I heard this moment of music, the most beautiful music I could imagine, but it lasted just a second or two, maybe, and then it was gone. And I felt embarrassed for a moment, despite the fact that I have no reason to be embarrassed. Because I was about to say, was that you? Did you do that? Because it's never happened before.
Hmm.
Well, until we learn more of it, I choose to take it as a good omen.
As I would too. The Worland Stone has been a place for nightings, for time out of mind. So it will add to the mystique of the stone, but it adds more importantly to the history of Worland Barony.
Indeed.
And so then you guys process in, and you go in through, like I said, the main hall into that main downstairs gallery. You're brought to a head table, and there's his captain of his guard, who is a knight, Jordan Kane, Roden Cutler, and his wife are also there. His chief steward, Milton Presley, the three of you, and the druids are all at that head table. And it just goes on for hours and hours. That there's eating, drinking, people getting up, moving around. There's different
games, gestures.
Yes, there's that. There's dance, gestures, all kinds of stuff that takes place in the middle of where all the tables are, and it's just a constant din of eating and drinking. It would make any Hobbit bash.
Now this is what Dungeons and Dragons is all about,
right? Making me hungry right now.
Oh yeah.
So much later, it's been easily an hour, maybe an hour and a half later. The Baron calls everything to order, and he calls for Zelen and Jacob Treadstone to come to the center of the table. And as you're walking over, you forgot, oh yeah, we were granted noble status too.
Let's find out if we have music.
We find out that the dance floor is actually an even bigger piece of a tree. We're better.
It is a tree.
And calling you two by name, he says, Zelen, Jacob Treadstone, you have granted a service to the Baron of Worland and to all of Worland Barony that has increased its power and its might. And for this, as an appreciation, as thanks to you, I grant you, and as he's saying this, he has like an arm torque, like an arm band, and he slides it onto your arm and up onto your forearm. I grant you noble attainment, that you have the privileges of the noble class. You shall be referred to as Sir Jacob Treadstone, and you shall be Lady Zelen, and it grants you the privileges not only here in Worland Barony, but in all of Southland, that is, in all of the free baronies, that you are of the noble class.
That's awesome.
And again, those that are present, that same kind of cheer goes up among those who are mostly of the noble class, that they seem to be a little bit of like, okay.
Yeah, and even louder because they've been drinking for a few hours.
We can let them join because we're pretty drunk and there's still a lot of food to go.
Right on.
And then the celebration continues with
I-
dancers, with jugglers, things like that.
Soldier that I am, I'm probably alternating between alcoholic and not alcoholic drinks. So a bit buzzed, but not like completely destroyed.
Okay, that's easily done. Another half an hour goes by, and you see someone who you think might be an assistant of the stewards. You know he has numerous assistants, but he walks up to, actually, he's at the table. Milton Presley's at the table, and this assistant, one of his assistants, walks up and taps him on the shoulder, but continues to the Baron.
Ooh.
And as he does that, he leans down to the Baron, and go ahead and roll. It would be an insight.
I'm sensing this isn't a game of duck, duck, goose.
Now I'm wondering.
It's not 7-Up stand-up either.
I have been drinking.
So have I. Because I rolled a natural one.
I rolled a natural 3.
And I was going to ask, he made a point about mentioning
but
that
that's
he had
still
been...
11.
I was going to say roll at a disadvantage. You guys are talking about drinking so much. Yeah, I should have said roll that at disadvantage. Your insights.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Look, he's got a face, and it just doesn't matter whatsoever. Boris,
18 on an insight?
18.
There we go. There's our sober one.
And like 11 and 11 or something?
5.
Okay. Boris, you see the Baron's face just go blank, and then he's blanched. He just
Wow.
received some
Bad.
really bad news. He stands, and of course, as like the whole, everyone in this room, the hundreds of people that are in here, they're all turning, looking. Do you have to do something? Is the thing changing? And he just gives them a motion, like just keep on going as you're going. But then, as he walks past the three of you, he says, "Come with me," and and along with.
Are we in trouble?
That's
Right.
it's pretty sobering, whatever he did.
What we
Yeah,
do
gauging
wrong?
the state of my companions. If I can still catch a servant as we're going out, bring coffee and cold water to the meeting room.
And we'll assume coffee exists. I hadn't even thought about that, but
I think you mentioned it in your book.
did I?
If not the first one, definitely the one you're working
It needs
on.
to be on this one right now. But joining him is Jordan Kane, his chief knight in charge of his guards here, and Milton Presley, the steward. So the group of you, the 6 of you, go out, and he presents his wife again, the lovely Genevieve Cutler. and there's applause there. So the focus, the royal presence is still here in the chamber. And as you get just a little ways away, you're out in a hall that's adjacent to it. He says to this assistant to Milton Presley, he says, "Say again to them what you said to me just a moment ago." And he says, "One of my co-assistants, Quentin Boone, is dead. I found him," and he turns toward Milton Presley, said, "I found him in your office, stabbed to death."
Does he belong in that office? Did he have any?
Makes sense a steward being the steward's office.
Milton gives you a nod, yes. My assistants had full access to
Can I
him.
roll an
Stabbed
insight on
to
the guy
death.
who brought the news to us just to make sure there's no
Great,
reason
yeah,
why we
roll
have
an
to suspect
insight
him?
on this guy.
I will as well.
Still intoxicated. 9.
14.
He looks startled, scared, and very honest
Mm-hmm.
by this
Genuine.
whole thing.
Okay.
And then the Baron says, "Take us there," and you find yourself, going through this level of the keep, down some hallways you've gone before, and then you go into the suite that would be the steward's. You go into a suite that would be the steward's suite, where his offices are. You go in there, and yeah, sure, plain as day, there is a body lying on the floor about halfway to the steward's desk, and the door leading back out of the
Hold
room.
out my arms to make sure that no one walks in there just yet, and I'll look and see if there's any obvious signs of where people have walked before we walk in there.
Great big bloody footprint.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
All right, so yeah,
That'd
go
be
ahead.
all
and-
you could notice
It's
right
not
now.
your favorite terrain.
You want me to roll it as a survival?
I guess that would be because that would be your knee-jerk reaction, I think, to look
For
for
the
that
most
kind
part,
of detail.
Oh, come on.
But it's actually about you rolling it at disadvantage because it's not your favorite terrain.
Okay.
But
Oh, no. I wasted a good roll. 11 was my bad one.
you couldn't tell because it obviously looks like the floor is regularly walked over. But the man has done a fair amount of bleeding. There is a lot of blood
Wow.
that
Ooh.
you would assess with the roll you did make. That you would think that this man had his heart nicked at the very least. That he'd been stabbed in the heart. But you're not positive of that. There's just so much blood.
What's
You'd
the
think that.
state of the room like?
Yeah.
Generally neat, but you do see that the chair that is the steward's chair has been knocked over.
Okay.
So signs of a struggle for the most
You
part.
two
So- and
take a
this-
look at the body. I'm going to investigate the desk.
Okay.
The steward's
Or
with
the,
us.
the chair and the desk.
Yeah, so yeah,
And there's no animals in the room, are there, that I could ask if they saw anything?
there are no animals in the room.
Ooh.
So Milton Presley, the steward, goes over to his desk and he just opens a drawer or two and very quickly says, "My journal. That is my most recent journal. My lord," as he turns to Baron Cutler, he says, "The journal in which I recorded the events that this group of people related to us.
Oh, that's not good.
My most
Yeah,
recent
yeah.
journal, everything that they said about the throne, the gate,
Let's,
Abner, everything
let's
was
do
in that
medicine
journal."
check on the body. How long has he been dead?
All right, go ahead.
14.
Now you're sober.
Yeah, right?
Under an hour, you
Okay.
would think. So he's very warm still.
Mentioning that to the party is okay. So whoever has this journal, this has happened recently. We need to find whoever did
So,
this.
well, on your 14 check, Jacob, yeah, and
Okay.
if you guys want to roll another one too about that, if there's any other detail with that, you can tell this man was stabbed in the back
Mhm.
and on his left-hand side,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
the wound seemed to be a puncture wound, and it is part way up his back.
Okay.
So anything specific more than that, you'd probably need to take his shirt off or something.
So
Zelen?
I rolled a 21 if I roll it as a medicine check.
So with that roll, are you leaving his shirt on him, or are you taking his shirt
No,
off of him?
I think we need to really try to
Yeah,
figure
we're both
out
doing
what
this together, so I'll
happened,
help
really
her
examine
take the
him.
clothes off to get to the.
Okay, well, the initial would be that yes, this guy bled out very quickly. So
Okay.
you're imagining it being what would have to have been it hit a major artery, or it actually stabbed him in the heart. And then as you're getting his shirt off of him, you're looking down his back, and the wound actually, the where it's actually gone into him, is pretty low on his back. So
Okay.
it seems like this person would have had to stabbed up at a pretty steep angle to have caught the heart, if that's what he actually did. If he intended to kill him just that way, then he probably would have gone a little higher in the back. So either the guy didn't know what he was doing, wasn't that trained, wouldn't have the kind of skill, or he was just lashing out. That it was just that's where he happened to hit the guy.
Does it seem like it was kind of like they were fighting, like they were kind of tussling together, like the wound itself is a bit jagged, or it was just very rushed getting in there because we thought there might be a struggle?
So as you're examining the actual the wound itself, you said you'd rolled a 14 before, Jacob?
On my medicine check, yeah.
On yours, yes. That you can see that you've seen stab wounds in, people and in all kinds of animals before, and they're almost elliptical in their shape, the way that it cuts on both sides. This was a triangular pointed weapon, which you've also seen many knives, sheath knives, hunting knives, are more of in cross-section a triangular blade.
Because it's only sharp on one side, right?
Right. And
Okay.
And this one is a triangular cut, but this blade wouldn't have been much bigger than like the area of your thumb. That it is really, really small. That we actually see the abrasions on like the skin in the surrounding area. That whoever punched this thing in probably punched in part of the actual handle to this unusual knife
Now,
as they went in.
Does that sound very familiar to everyone else, or
Almost
just
like
me?
a scalpel?
Almost like a scalpel, yes.
Yeah, so it would be reminiscent. And with that, you saw wounds on a bugbear a long
Ages
time ago.
Oh, yeah.
That had little cuts all
Little
over
cuts,
them,
yeah.
but then also some deeper puncture wounds that looked an awful lot like this kind of.
Oh my
wound.
gosh.
But is it just that one cut? Is there any other cuts on him?
There are, but let me go to Boris for a moment
Okay.
to see what he's doing.
I was,
cliffhangers.
oh, yeah, right. I went over to the desk with the steward to see if anything was missing. I'm going to see if I can kind of establish a timeline. Do
Okay.
like what I'm thinking is like an investigation check of like the desk in its immediate area. Because if he came into this room and stabbed the guy, he'd probably have blood on him and left drips around. But if he was walked in on and then killed him, there
yeah.
wouldn't be anything by the desk.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and make that check.
19.
Yes, as you're over near the desk, the first thing you're aware of is the absence. There's no blood over there.
Okay, so he was walked in on, most likely.
And like I said before, the chair was knocked over.
Mhm.
So he may have been startled by somebody coming into the room, this guy coming into the room. But as you're doing the search and check, well, one, all the drawers were shut. But then at the same time, there's something unusual on the floor. Actually, in the candlelight and the lantern light in here, you see what looks like something sparkling in a fairly good-sized area of the floor right underneath of the desk.
Okay. Moving a light source, shifting how I'm postured, picking up whatever it is. Can I get a sense of it?
It doesn't make sense how it's like kind of scintillating until you get very close to it, like hands and knees, and you realize what you're seeing is not something, a one thing. It's a whole bunch of metal filings.
Oh,
Metal filings are
weird.
on the floor down here, underneath this desk.
What would you want for a check to try and gauge where those could have come from? Because, I don't know about you guys, but I don't sit in the steward's desk, which is not where I should be, and just, go at an ingot with a file or something.
Right. Well, in a castle like this, without even a check, you would think, well, there's only a few places where you would be able to even make metal filings.
Mm-hmm.
And their armory and their weaponsmith are all part of the same facility right here.
All right.
So potentially a blacksmith, which would be just outside the building. But where they do the repair work on armory, there's a small forge, and there's weapons lined up, there's armor lined up, but then there are also tools in there. So the armory would make the most sense.
I share those thoughts and what I've gathered with
We tell
the
him
party.
about the stab wound, the potential, what's it called? Scalpel wound.
All right.
So it seems, if I'm understanding what we're putting together, it seems like there was somebody in this space. They took the journal and they were surprised by the person who's dead on the floor.
Yeah, Boone.
Is that a good? Okay. All right.
You had mentioned that there were more cuts and you were leaving a
Yes.
little cliffhanger.
I
Come
did.
on.
So with the examination of that wound, you can tell as you're getting closer to it, as you're examining first the wound that's in his back, that the angle is steep. You can just tell by how the actual handle of this knife made an impression on the skin that this person stabbed up between like the 6th and the 7th rib, way down low. So you would think that should have missed the guy's heart, except for the angle the blade came in. But the other wound is right at the base of his skull, in the back, like the top of his neck, base of his skull.
Bad heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Bad heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
And they're sharing all this stuff
Oh yeah,
with
this
me.
is being
yeah.
vocalized
Yeah,
to Boris
absolutely.
immediately.
Yeah.
Because that immediately pings for the journals, that both the journals referenced a series of murders with stabs at the base of the skull.
And that they were
Wow.
unsolved.
Yeah. But first things first, I only know of 3 scalpels in this building, and all 3 of them are in my room. So which is nearer, the armory or my quarters?
Armory's on this level. Your quarters are upstairs, so armory be the nearest place.
Yeah, let's swing through the armory, see if we can figure out anything with that, and then
Great.
sweep up. If the Baron or the captain, what's his name, Kane, is
Right.
still there, I'd ask that sentries be posted that try and keep the proper atmosphere for the party, but we need guards on doors. Whoever did this doesn't get away.
Yeah, so Jordan Kane is doing just that, and the Baron says, "I'm going to check on my wife and make sure that everything is fine there. I'll also seal off the castle to make sure that no one can escape it." Sir Jordan, go with them to the armory to oversee what's happening there.
We'll update you as soon as we can, my lord.
And he nods and he goes out in one direction. You guys go in the other. So within a moment before you guys leave, there's a guard on duty on the outside, and Jordan Kane tells him to not go into the room, but not let anyone else into the room either. And then you go down hallways, long hallway, through some gallery areas, and then you come into the area that's kind of the workaday side of the castle. And a door is opened, and you go into the armory room. Boris, you've probably been here before. Jacob, probably the same thing. There's a counter where there's actually somebody is working on your arrows right now. They're all laid out.
Nice.
There's a suit of armor that's being developed on one side, but it looks, in other words, just like a typical armory.
Going through finally as possible, and I'd say this to everybody gathered, we're looking for either iron filings or a potential source.
Okay.
All right, so everyone roll.
Do we want to ask Jordan if there's anything obvious out of order? I mean, is it a very orderly place that anything odd would stick out to him?
It's worth a thought.
Let me just give a roll for him before you guys roll your perceptions yourself. And he says, even though I am in here quite regularly, I do not do the work on the armor and the weapons myself. So I wouldn't know in what state it was left in. But typically, it is put back as best to rights before they leave for the day. But I'll walk around with you to see if I can notice anything myself.
Okay.
Make your perceptions.
Okay. Perceptions or investigation?
Perceptions, because I'm better at that one.
Okay.
I'd say perception because you're not coordinating a bunch of facts. You're just looking to see if anything stands out
26.
that way.
12.
15.
So, Zelen, the first thing you notice is that there is an area near a vice, as you're working through it, that there are a number of files, like somebody opened a box of files and left the files in a kind of a heap as they grabbed like the middle one and knock things around.
Boris, come look at this.
And I go over there.
And you see there was somebody was using this vice. They are very new. You can see where at the end of their workday, they sweep off their work area, but there are fresh filings. Something was held in this vice, and there's filings on the surface of the vice itself.
Looking right around in the immediate area, can I get any clue about what
nearby
might
source
have,
of metal.
Exactly what might have been in this vice? Is there like something that's
you
broken
mentioned,
off
you
of
mentioned
something?
the armor, that there was a suit of armor in process. I go over that. Is any piece missing?
Let's see. Well, you would know that. At that point, with your interest in it.
Siegecraft check?
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
But Jordan Kane be right there too. And he points to the upper portion of the arm. And he says, right here, under the shoulder pauldron, before it hits hard metal again, our armor suits have a few pieces that are narrow, call it like a half a bracelet, that just allows flexibility of the shoulder. So you can raise the shoulder up and still have protection. It seems like such a small detail, but it isn't as though a workman would take those things home with him. He'd only work here. 2 of them are missing.
Would you say that they together would form a ring?
If you reverse the one, yes, they would.
Ooh, this is bad.
So are you going to communicate what you're thinking right now?
What I'm concerned about is with that, they're trying to improvise that symbol we took off of the one that was trying to kill you.
Oh,
Remember the ring?
Oh, and it had the engraving on the inside.
That the symbol of it was a circle. I wonder if that disc is significant to something and
Well,
trying
we
to
know
improvise
they do
one.
something with the symbols because they were trying to put one in that bear. Remember the bear we found?
Oh, that was a cage, wasn't it?
It was.
It was a
but they
three-dimensional
do
version of the
something
thing.
with
Oh,
these
that's right.
symbols.
Okay.
So
You already wanted to go to your room.
Yeah.
let's check out my room then.
One last thing, though.
Sure.
Zelen, what did you say your check was when you were first looking and you found where those
What my
files...
number was?
What you were-
26.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was so high. You also noticed that on one of those files, there's a teeny little bit of blood.
Ha ha! I see blood. And I didn't put it there.
For once.
That's interesting. So wait a minute. There's blood. Okay.
So killed the guy,
and
came
then
here to
came
make
here.
the thing?
I don't know. Have you seen any
It's a
drips
weird-
of blood as
it's a
we've been
weird
walking
addition.
around?
I haven't been looking, but I will now.
Yeah, definitely.
Either way, let's head to my quarters.
Well,
Yeah.
what you are aware of, Jacob, is that when you were like coming into the room where the steward's assistant was killed, that there was a lot of blood on the floor, but there was no footprints going through it. That heading from where the blood was to the door, there was nothing else. He bled out. Like whoever stabbed him let him fall and must have stepped back away from him.
Okay.
So no trace of it there. All right. So
Right.
you said you're what, heading to
Boris's
Boris's
quarters.
room?
Yeah.
All right.
Who else is on that floor? Are there any other? I'm
probably
staying with
on
the
the-
druids.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you staying there?
Yeah, yours would be
would make
nearby,
sense.
like just like a room away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to check your room too?
I'll check my room and go retrieve my dagger.
Yeah, and grab your potions too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um,
Get
so
ready for a fight.
go into my room. Anything missing? Is the sword still there?
Okay, so at this point, the Jordan Kane, he says, I'll remain on station here until I can get another guard, but I'll join you later. So I won't be with you when you go upstairs.
Copy that. Sounds good.
And he stays behind. So it's just at this point, the three of you that are walking up at this point. And you get to your room, Boris, and your room has been tossed. Your stuff
Nice.
is all over
Oh,
the place.
wow.
Just nice.
Can you tell
Nice.
what's missing?
Can I tell what's missing?
Well, so you tell me, what is the first thing you'd probably check on, even though you're wondering about scalpels? What's the
Sword.
First, yes, your sword is still there,
Belting that on.
just where you left it.
Next
Okay.
one, potions, because
all of your,
I have
all
no
of your
armor.
armor is there too.
Now, how
but,
obvious
yeah.
do we want to be as we're going through the because we're going to be continuing to go through the castle here? We don't want to convey to everyone that there's something wrong.
It wouldn't be too out of place to have a sword on your hip.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking, going for my dagger and we're going for my sword rather than my bow, because that's kind of obvious that there's something
I
afoot.
think most men that are walking around right now, they might not have a dagger on them. The women would not, at least not that they have it obviously. But most men would have a dagger, maybe even a short sword, maybe a rare occasion a long sword. But you just got knighted for crying out loud.
Yeah, and
so-
it's a reasonable assumption that he must be about to do some kind of like a duel display, sparring for
Right.
our entertainment.
Well, and there's not going to be that many people up here. They're all still down there partying. There's not going to be that many
All a
people
matter of whether or
up
not we have
here.
to move through the Great Hall.
But go ahead
Yeah,
and roll
that's
an
true.
insight roll, all of you, once Boris belts on his
and then,
his Argolian sword.
Then after belting that on and retrieving my potions, I'd be going for wherever I put that unholy symbol and the scalpels.
Okay, gotcha.
I rolled an 18.
I rolled an 8.
I rolled a 12.
Okay, so the 18, Zelen, it does occur to you that now that he has his sword on, whoever rifled this room, they obviously weren't bothered that his
Right.
sword was there. They didn't try to take it. That he's now wearing it, then that means that it's been discovered that his room's been tossed. So if somebody is, say, in the Great Hall right now, Boris has become a visual signal that somebody is on to the person that's perpetrated this crime.
Ooh.
Just so
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
aware
I
of
get
that.
that.
So you vocalize that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Personally, I think that'd help us because then if somebody
We already
goes,
have sentries
oh
posted."
crap, and somebody splits,
And
we go,
starts running.
stop that guy.
Yeah, we already have
Stop
people
that
at
guy and
doors.
beat him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
and I go to my room to retrieve my my sword. Is anything wrong with my room?
nothing's wrong with your room.
Huh.
No, nothing whatsoever.
I'm not. I'm okay. I mean, I'm not upset about
I was
that.
I was the one with the stuff.
I know. It's, yeah.
So yeah, how would he?
What about the other things like the
Yeah,
tinderbox with the stone in it?
Okay,
Right.
the tinder stone is there. However, Boris, the ring, that symbol ring that you got from the guy that tried to kill Jacob, is gone.
Mm.
And lying on the floor, not too far away, we have like a piece of cloth, the edge of a blanket,
Yep.
is what looks like a piece of armor that has been fashioned with a couple of rivets to make a loop. It'd be inferior, definitely,
An
as a holy
improvised
symbol,
version.
right? But that one's just lying there, and the one that you know is the real one is
It's
now
gone.
gone.
I rejoin him in the room with my sword.
Is there still any of the scalpels, or were all 3 taken?
All 3 scalpels are gone.
Okay.
So what else? Do we see any blood in this room or anything
Yeah,
else
let's
in
take
this
a
room?
Yeah,
take a
let's
look around.
Do an investigate.
Yeah,
or
go ahead, roll your
investigate or
investigation.
perception. I push perception because I'm better at that.
Well, I'd push perception too, because that is using your senses, your eyes to do that.
nice.
It's not a natural 20. It's a 19. But
It's a matter of coordinating those perceptive rolls to make an investigative roll.
Zelen, you need to roll a 10.
No, sorry, I rolled a 3.
Okay.
I got a
Total?
23.
No, an 11 total.
Oh, yeah. 9 total.
23. I got a good roll. 23.
So Jacob is, as he's looking through like the minutia of these things that are tossed around right here, there is no blood, but you do see a little more of those metal filings. Like whoever did this, they have some of the filings stuck on them, and wherever they're going, they're losing a percentage of
Did
these
we
things.
see any in the hallway? Like we were following a trail
I don't
at
know if
all?
we were really looking for
I
them.
know, it
Right,
feels
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, but not that you're aware of, you notice them there. But there are, and not the same volume that there was at that desk. It would imply that this room was gotten to after the other room.
So he had his own scalpel. He didn't need these. Oh, God. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
You also notice it's kind of bizarre, but against one wall, there is water. Like somebody.
Is there a window on that wall?
No, there's no window on that wall.
Is there anything on that
It's
wall?
as though that tapestry and picture, that kind of stuff, ornamentation. But it's like somebody just walked over there and went and just spilled a glass of water.
I will investigate the strange water.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's weird.
I know we got a little bit wet crossing the river for the nighting, but A, that was hours ago, and B, I didn't like take a cupful with me.
Uh-oh, mommy found the pea drawer.
Jacob, go ahead and roll your, in
That's
this
an
case,
old one.
your
Yeah.
investigation, because you're
Ooh.
putting together different things,
Awesome.
extrapolating, because you've already found the water.
Ooh, natural 16 for an 18.
As you are down here and you're examining this and you feel the water, the volume of the water where it is, the water looks to be roughly foot-shaped, the actual water that's on the floor.
Oh.
And then you see another foot-shaped one that is half in the room and apparently half in the wall.
Secret
He's a
tunnel.
water elemental.
Secret tunnel,
Secret
secret tunnel, secret
tunnel.
tunnel.
That makes a
Secret
lot
tunnel,
more
secret
sense.
tunnel. Water elemental.
Oh, is the Baron still with us?
No,
No,
he's
he went.
downstairs
Baron's
right
at
now.
the party.
Yeah,
oh, that's right. I
so-
thought he left his wife and came with us. Is anyone from the the steward still with us?
Just us.
It's just us.
I didn't say the steward had left. You're right. So I think I said coming upstairs. He must have gone in a different direction downstairs because right now it's just the three of you.
Dang it.
just
Okay,
going
so there's
through
no
your
one to
room.
ask explicitly. So I'll just start searching around if there's any way to open up
Are
this
you
door.
sharing with us so we
Oh,
can
yeah.
help you search? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll
He
come-
says it's
we'll
like
come
just
help
kind
you
of
search.
grabbing a wall.
I just start touching the wall. I'm like secret door. I'm just vocalizing it as I'm touching it. Just
Yay! Yay!
Yeah, no. It's,
Age of
yeah,
Ultron.
you're making the reference, yeah.
okay. Yeah. What do you want me to roll for trying to find like some sort of a lever or anything to open this?
The way I've read the investigation roll, that once you make the roll, it seems as though you kind of know it. Yeah, so you moving around doing just that, you do find a piece of wood in the wall that's just a trim to how like kind of like the wainscoting is on the thing.
Okay.
And you lever
Those are
that.
words.
Yeah.
You lever that and turn it, and you hear a click, and you feel that you could push this back in, like it would open up into the space back behind it and be
Oh,
able
Okay,
that's
wait, before you
fantastic.
open it, are we ready to open this? I mean, we don't.
Yeah, we
I-
should probably update, powers that be, so that way they know that there's, secret doors and, a potential hostile moving in ways unexpected.
I step out into the hallway. Are there any servants moving around that we can send for the Baron?
No, but the Baron is coming toward you
Oh,
right
perfect.
That's handy.
now. Yeah, that would be. As he walks up, he says, "Everything is fine down there. The castle has been secured. If anyone were to leave this place now, it'd be through magical means."
My
Then
lord,
he
there's...
pauses and just goes, "Wait, that could actually happen, couldn't it?"
Yeah.
Yes.
We have discovered a secret door in my quarters and stepping through and gesturing to it.
And as he looks in, like he pushes it open the rest of the way and looks down into this that's just like stone and wall, and he says, "Interesting. I know of some passages, but I did not know that there was one in here."
Oh, he didn't know? Oh, gosh.
About that passage, that's right.
Yeah, that one
And he
specifically.
said, "I had decided after talking to the steward, I thought I should check my own quarters. Let's hold here. Let's hold this here, Sir Treadstone. Go ahead and pull that door shut again. Would you be able to open it once more?"
Yeah, and I show him like I've found where the thing opens.
All right then. And give me a moment. Accompany me while I check my own quarters.
All right.
And looking around here, things missing?
The Zrek scalpels and that unholy ring.
That's disturbing.
Indeed.
Then you walk, into the hallway, down the hallway, through a different part of that wing, into his own suite. He opens up his door, and it looks like everything's just fine. That there's nothing that's been taken out of place, nothing there.
Okay.
He opens a drawer. There's very wealthy, weaponry, jewelry, things sitting out like that. But then he opens a drawer and starts counting something on the inside of it. It sounds like he's ruffling through papers, either documents or just parchments to use. Then he comes, he turns back and he says, now, this is disturbing in a different way. The abbot of Arngol College, Sigmund, has entrusted with me and with other barons of Southland the means to communicate with each other by magic, that we can transcribe a letter and then give that letter to a runner. It takes days to get up to Arngol College. But when the abbot of Arngol reads that letter, he hears it in my voice to know my intention. But it has to be prepared on particular parchment and with particular ink. Some of those parchments are gone, and a jar of this ink that's specially prepared, magicked by the abbot of Arngol, is also missing as well.
Do you know
how many
someone?
is some?
He counts again 8 different sheets of
8.
parchment.
So he's sending a message.
Do you
A
know
lot
if
of
someone other
messages.
than you were to craft a message with these materials, would it still come across in your voice?
If someone else had the knowledge and ability that was taught to me by the abbot of Arngol, who would be like a high-level cleric, then they too could do the same thing, the same ceremony. It would be in their voice.
It would be in
wouldn't
their
Okay.
voice.
It wouldn't be
Okay.
in my voice.
So
Okay.
it's not like someone could convey a message from you, like an act of war or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, that's
But-
a little bit of good news.
But look at this, and he points to a bureau. Here is thousands of silver and wealth just sitting loose. Weaponry, and he points over to the other side of the room. They came here specifically, which meant they also knew.
They also knew.
They knew that I had these things.
Indeed.
Jacob, do you see any blood? Is there any blood
yeah,
anywhere?
we'll check.
We've got an indicator of where the hostile is, or at least has been recently
Yes,
with
yeah.
the secret door.
That'll explain why we
Um,
didn't see any blood or metal filings, even if we were explicitly looking in the hallways. This guy's using secret tunnels.
Wasn't using the hallways. So I say we move and intercept that message before it can get sent.
Yeah. Where's and I start asking the Baron, like, where would be like the most secluded places that we might be able to find someone who's hiding?
Well, they know they went. We know he went in that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Where he knows that
there's
somebody,
many secluded corners. I mean,
This-
the actual cellars. There's a portion of the cellar that is a wine cellar. There's a storage cellar. There's a siege cellar. Numerous rooms and chambers down
let's
there.
use the information we know.
There's
with
this-
his knowledge of the
there's
secret tunnels.
cistern area. Would
Yeah.
also be an area where people rarely go unless it's a major
Okay.
extreme time.
Well, then let's head back to Boris's room and get into the secret tunnels and
Yeah.
see where those lead.
on the way back, I will stop and pull a torch out of a sconce and have that.
I'm go-
I'd recommend you guys do as well.
Yes, but I'm also going to do find traps as soon as we open that door, just in case somebody
Ooh.
said something.
That's a new one.
When'd you get find traps?
Yeah. So once you read it, tell us how it works.
You sense the presence of any trap within range that is within line of sight. A trap for the purpose of this spell includes anything that would inflict a sudden or unexpected effect you consider harmful or undesirable. So if it messes up my hair, it's bad, which was specifically intended as such by its creator. Thus, the spell would sense an area affected by the alarm spell, a glyph of warding, or a mechanical pit trap, but it would not reveal a natural weakness in the floor or unstable ceiling or a hidden sinkhole.
You are positive there are no traps that are
Okay.
magical.
So he didn't take time to trap it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably in a rush.
Right.
All the more reason for us to make haste.
As soon as we go in, is there any sort of if the Baron didn't know these tunnels existed, would there be a layer of dust on the ground that might give us an idea of footsteps and where they were
There
going?
should be. Yeah.
Yes,
So
I look for those.
okay, go ahead.
All right. Survival again for tracking.
Yes.
Cool. Yes. 8.
There have definitely been signs of passage, but beyond that, you couldn't tell much by how the dust patterns have been moved.
Okay, so following that little bit as much as I can, hopefully traveling down, looking for the freshest tracks as we go, but kind of just using the disturbances as a path to walk.
So as you walk down this hallway of stone, it's very cramped, it's very tight, and without your torches would have been very, very dark. And you've proceeded what feels like about 30 feet, and then it hits a T intersection. Go ahead and roll it again, Jason.
Awesome. Okay. 11.
I can also.
I tell you
check.
guys exactly
Well-
what it is that I'm looking for.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think if that should give you advantage or if it's not in your regular area that would do just that.
Well, it not being in his favored terrain doesn't do anything
Yeah.
aside from he doesn't get the
Yeah.
benefit of it.
the
being in-
benefit of the favorite terrain, right?
He doesn't get a penalty for it not being.
You can tell that somebody moved down both of these hallways. It's a matter of differentiating one to the next one. Actually, you know what I should have had you roll was an investigation roll.
Okay.
Or not investigate, a straight perception roll.
Okay.
So just roll that for me instead.
I'll do perception.
I'll do that too.
Hey, 19.
That you could roll, that perception roll.
Beats my 5.
It looks like somebody, Jacob, has traveled in, you said a 19 is what you
19,
rolled?
yeah.
That someone has traveled down the left-hand hallway, like down and back, and it looks like by the gate, by the distance in feet, either there was 2 different people the same height or one person traveling back, in one direction and back again, but the other direction has been traveled much, much more, as though they've come up and down to this point for a number of reasons.
Gotcha. Road less traveled?
What about
I'd agree.
Yeah. To put that in context, the way you're traveling now looks like it had minimal passage on that. The way to the left-hand side, I said, has had somebody pass that way once and then back. But from the other direction, it's been a lot of passage.
Okay.
Way more than would be that he walked from someplace to a point, walked up to Boris's room and back, walked down the left-hand hallway and back, that there's too much disturbance on the right.
Thinking about the layout of the castle we're in, would I be able to infer to the right would be maybe the chambers or the armory?
It'd be really difficult to know that, but there's something being implied about this right now. Go ahead, everyone make that.
What about dampness? Because we know he had damp feet. So do you see any
Natural
dampness
20.
on the ground?
Ooh,
15
What are we-
natural
what are we
for whatever we're rolling.
Yeah, what are we rolling? What am I adding to this?
it's a perception.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have 10.
17.
24.
24, yeah. So actually, the 2 of you, but Jacob is like, oh, I got this. That on the wall opposite you, you're seeing the reverse side of a secret door. That there's too much traffic for the one direction to have made.
Unless he was
I didn't-
walking
I
to
didn't-
this intersection and going
Right.
back.
I didn't realize we were so close to the end of that spot. I thought it was like you turn and then there's like another 60 feet of hallway or something.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Let's.
So with
yeah.
that, you go, wait, here's the trigger, and you open this thing up, and as you open that, you step into an area, and the Baron himself says, I know this passage.
Ooh.
This is the passage that leads down to the cistern.
All right. Cistern sounds secluded.
It also sounds wet.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
So once you're in the cistern, the Baron himself takes the lead because he knows where this is.
Right,
he
yeah.
he
Okay.
grabs a torch out of somebody's hand and presses
I
forward.
guess it's mine because I don't
yeah,
recall.
well, and I'll produce flame.
Okay.
The area of the cistern has been carved out of the rock down below here, and it looks actually that probably some of the talfava is dripping through into this place.
Yeah.
So in siege, from a tactical point of view, Boris, you know that this place would always have fresh water down here.
Good to
But
keep
then
in mind.
it would also have to drain back out. But then you realize they've cut numerous chambers, like indoor swimming pools, down here, down below here, and you've been taken through not an impossible maze, but a kind of a
An
warren.
appreciable maze.
Yeah, a warren of chambers that have catwalks across them, and they're full of water, ready for whatever kind of siege might hit this place someday. And he takes you down into a central area, and you're in what would be, like if somebody said, draw water, he said, this is where they draw water from. If we needed it right now, this is the middle of the cistern area. There's generally a steward who's in charge of the water would come down here.
I'm willing to bet that the ground entirely is covered in water, so it's not like looking for wet footprints would even be a possibility.
Oh, well, go ahead and make your...
You might roll a nat 20.
Yeah,
Who
so
knows?
whether if that be perception on that,
Okay.
or if it's whichever's better.
I have
think.
sobered up so much.
What'd you roll? I can't see it from
Natural
your computer.
18.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So 22.
Wow, 22. So when you start setting DCs at 20, you're like, yeah, it's a good DC. Oh, okay, 22. That you can tell there's regular movement here, and there have been regular trips we've run down to get water, and it follows partially the trail you guys just came in through. But Jacob, you notice going in a different direction, like a tangential direction, that there is another set of feet that go in a direction that are wet
Oh, yeah. And
by itself.
pointing that out
Yeah,
and
let's go that
continuing to
way.
move.
Let's go.
So you walk down another tunnel and he goes, gosh, I haven't been down here, I think, since I was a boy, as you go further into this cistern area. And you come up to a door,
My lord, let me take point.
and he passes the torch back to you and allows you to go forward.
Okay, and I'll proceed through that door.
All right, so one thing that was obvious as you're approaching it, there's a stream of light coming from underneath. I say a stream. There is a crack of light that's on the underside of this door.
Okay.
So there is some light source that's on the inside of this thing.
I think I will take a quick action to activate Sacred Weapon, just in case hostile is here.
Smart.
All right.
Hope I didn't waste that.
Anybody else doing a defensive or potentially?
I was gonna say knock an
preparatory?
arrow, but I don't have my bow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you
Knock
reach
a
for
dagger?
it. And your hands like just kind of groping back over your head. It's not there.
Yeah, there really isn't anything I can do defensively.
You would imagine this door is going to be open because of like lime and crustacean and whatnot down here. Be difficult to open, and you go to open it, Victor, Boris, and it's been worked. It's been oiled. Someone has taken some time to do some maintenance on this door,
And that's why I'm getting the +4 to hit right now.
And as you open this up, it is a fairly small chamber. It's about 15 by 15. It's very wet, very damp. There's no one in it that you see. But at the same time, there's some unusual stuff in here. There is what looks like a makeshift laboratory. And in the center of this room, there is what looks like an examination table.
Okay, yeah. So stepping in
wow.
and starting to look around.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
going to step in and detect magic.
gross and weird.
All right, so
I'm assuming as the spell slot, not as the ritual.
At the spell slot, yeah.
yeah, so with the detection of magic,
Good call.
you are sure there is no magic that's existing as a
Okay.
magical item, something in this area, but you can see there's like a focal point on that examination table, and one, it has straps where you would like strap a person down to it.
Gross.
And as you get up to it, there is blood that's on this table,
Fresh blood?
old and new.
Oh,
Gosh.
wow.
Mm.
As I'm seeing these things, I'm sharing them.
Yeah.
I think everybody's stepping in and seeing it. And you get a gasp from the Baron himself. He's like, Uko's teeth. He just can't believe that this is happening in his own castle. There are also pen and ink nearby. And he would go right to those and he shakes his
Yeah.
head. No,
That's
these
not it.
these
Okay.
aren't, them.
Are there any like side chambers or anything else that could be explored?
No side chambers, but also on that examination table, there is a bowl, a stone bowl, and there is an unusual material in it that once you take a moment to look at it, probably Jacob would recognize this first. From all the animals he's field dressed, you recognize that the bowl has brains in it.
Thank you for listening. You can support our podcast by helping us find new listeners. Tell a friend about us this week or post on Twitter or Facebook. Be a member of the podcast at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge.